Welcome to this presentation. My name is Dr. David Mirera. I work for Kenya Marine and Fisheries Research Institute, and I will take you through one of the research activities that we undertook in the financial year 2023-2024, entitled Mudcrab Farming in Lamu County, Opportunity to Save Small-Scale Aquatic Food System Losses and Enhance Incomes in Coastal Kenya. Why mud crabs? You may want to ask that. But it's important to know that mud crabs are harvested for subsistence throughout their range globally, and therefore are the focus of small and moderate-scale commercial fisheries. And so this food, mud crabs, they have about 70% protein, and of course, only less than 1% of fat. And that means that they are actually loved, or they have a national, regional, and international markets, and they fetch very good prices. Based on that, then it means they provide significant employment directly and indirectly to the populations. However, there are significant losses along the value chain of mud crabs because of the harvesting systems and the management systems, and that calls for innovations and technologies on how to minimize the losses from this significant resource. And so that's why we undertook to understand the nature of mud crab fishery and aquaculture in Lamu and Tana River counties, and of course to also understand the knowledge that the fishers have, which can significantly be used for purposes of advancing the mud culture or the aquaculture of mud crabs in those areas. And further, to assess the losses of mud crabs along the value chain in these areas. Now, how did this happen? A survey was done using focus group discussions between 6th and 22nd December 2003 to be able to bring the fishers, the traders, and all the people together so that we can be able to discuss and understand the genesis of this and how the systems are working along these areas. So we got participants from the various conservancies that are established in Lamu County and the Lower Tana. And of course, in some, we also brought out participants from areas that are not conservancies to be able to compare and get how the interventions are taking place. And this involved different people, traders, fishers, beach management units, community forest associations, and of course, local administration, and all the people who are actually having stake in the mud crab fishery. Now, it's important to note here that the exploration of mud crab fisheries in Lamu and Tana River counties unveiled a complex system deeply rooted in traditional knowledge in terms of exploitation of the mud crabs in these areas. So the study indicated that there are diverse harvesting techniques, some of them rudimentary, but paying because the fishers don't need to purchase them. They don't need to invest in acquiring them because they're locally available. And so this helps them to continue harvesting and maximize the profits. However, there was an observed loss of mud crabs down the value chain, which was a big concern in this industry in terms of loss of aquatic food systems. And therefore, it is also important to note that the aquaculture intervention by the time of the study was very minimal, only limited to one community in Mokoe, that's in Lamu County, which provided a good example of what can be realized out of this. So leadership, operational strategies, sourcing price strategies, and membership structures were key components contributing to the success of this aquaculture intervention in one of these areas that was studied. It's important here to note that the diversity and representation of the different actors that were engaged in this study about 50% were actually mud crab fishers. But of course, the others range from the different aspects, the crab traders, BMUs, conservancies, local administration, and of course, the Community Forest Association representatives. I want to look at an average losses that are experienced along the value chain. And I want you to look at this table here, which has the conservancy where the participants were from, the average crab catch per fisher per day, the number of crabs fished before sale, the percentage mortality per fisher per day, and percentage mortality by the dealers, and of course, then the cumulative. A snapshot shows that you can have losses of up to 17%. That's huge. Now you have not looked into the exporters, how much they lose. So cumulatively, you can say that the mud crab fishery is basically losing about 30% of the catch by the time it reaches the market. And that is serious. Now, it's important to note here that the fishers have a lot of knowledge in terms of the biology and ecology of mud crabs, which they do use in their day-to-day operations. And that will be significant when you want to move into the aquaculture interventions in these areas. So it's important to note here that mud crab value chain involve multiple stakeholders before the end consumer, and also some, especially the same applies even for the aquaculture itself, especially the ones at Mokoe. But the more interesting bit here is that their market dynamics play a very crucial role, with pricing structures influenced by factors such as weight, the grade of the crab, the market location, and all that. So these are the interplays that actually determine how much that the fisher takes home and how much, of course, that the crab farmer will take home. Though the value chains recorded both in Lamu and Tana were the same, with very few disparities. But it was noted that in Lamu County, there is entry of the Chinese dealers who have actually enhanced or increased the price for the mud crab, for the mud crabs. And that means that actually they are affecting the market structure in this area. So what I want to show here is that you can look at the range in terms of grade and the cost of per kg of the crabs. For example, grade A, which is bigger crabs and of course of good quality, in Lamu it's going as high as 2,500 Kenya shillings, whereas in Tana River is about 1,000 Kenya shillings. That variation, you can imagine. And it goes all along, okay? Grade B goes at about 1,500 in Lamu County, but of course about 600 or 700 in Tana River. In Tana River, you don't have a market for dead crabs, but in Lamu you have. In Tana River, you have less market for molded crabs, but in Lamu you have. So these are interplaying factors that are actually geared towards supporting the aquaculture industry, especially when you talk about the molted crabs, which we are going to look into in the aquaculture that we call soft-shell crabs. So meaning that in Lamu County and even in Tana River, you already have people who are able to consume these type of crabs. So it means that this intervention can be very useful. That implies that aquaculture is really wanted in this area to save this high value resource that is being wasted to 30% currently. Thank you.